Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So today we are going to be looking at the new Nomadic Marai 401. This is the 2024 edition and it's actually the first time I've had my hands on a watch from Nomadic. This 2024 edition has some improvements over the previous versions, which we will cover within the specifications section. You also have a few colorways which give away very clearly the obvious inspiration behind the design of the watch. Now, the price point of this watch has definitely affected the way in which I'm conducting this review, because it comes in at £1,050 for this bracelet version, which puts it in direct comparison with Christopher Ward watches. The price point also has me comparing this with popular brands from China like Seaston, Cronos and San Martin. So, is this a Christopher Ward competitor or an overpriced San Martin? Now, to fully evaluate the question, let me tell you a little bit more about the watch, including the specifications. So this Nomadic 401 is hand assembled in Belfast by in-house watchmakers, which means you get stuff like testing and verification of every single watch to the 200 meters stated water resistance, and they also regulate the Swiss Sellita SW201 movement used to power this watch. They also offer a dateless configuration in which the movement is also modified to remove that ghost tape position. Now this of course is something which you don't get from the Chinese alternatives. Now this alone is going to increase the quality you expect from Nomadic watches substantially, but it's no different to what Christopher Ward do, except Christopher Ward can legally be called Swiss made, which Nomadic cannot. Now you have a new case design with some refinement over the previous edition. You also get a new bracelet design with quick release bars and a trademarked microglide on the fly adjustable clasp. You have a ceramic bezel inset with 120 click unidirectional bezel, AR coated domed sapphire crystal with a sapphire exhibition caseback. Now again, all the above mentioned specifications are available from the likes of San Martin and Seaston, except the Sellita SW200, but we know those options are available and still at around a third of the price of this Nomadic 401. So what sets it apart? So the dial has a matte black finish using a maxi style dial with printed text below the 12 and above the 6. You have a printed chapter ring and you have built-in Belfast under the 6 o'clock marker and applied indices with polished frames. The date window is at 3. It's plain and simple cutout, lacking even the basic beveled edges that you should at least see on a high price watch like this. The lume is Super Luminova BGW9. It's evenly applied with a solid glow and should give very respectable longevity. The bezel is a coinage design. Ceramic insert with a lumed pip. Now the pip looks identical to what you get from San Martin watches and Seaston watches. Now the rotation is a little stiff, but once you get it moving, it is pretty tactile, very consistent and does sound quite nice. It also has zero alignment issues. Now the case is where this watch should stand out. It's got a nice curve to the case with very fine satinized brushing. You've got satinized brushing along the side profile, and you get a beautifully large polished chamfer around the edge of the case from lug tip to lug tip. Extremely clean transition lines between the polishing and the brushing, and it's got a very crisp definition. You also have a healthy crown size, just above 6mm, which is needed for this style of case. And when you turn the watch over, you look through that sapphire exhibition caseback and you get a nice surprise. They've modified the rotor with a propeller design inspired by the SS Nomadic and the RMS Titanic. It does add a nice touch to the back, and you also get to see the frantic beating heart of that Swiss Sellita SW200. So Nomadic make a point to say that this watch case was refined to elevate the watch's luxury appeal without the discomfort of sharp edges, and this is mentioned as an improvement over the older model. Now I think the finishing is extremely premium on the surface and I love the polished bevel edges, but the underside of the case does still have a slight edge, although it's not sharp, but it is noticeable. So perhaps the previous version was a lot sharper, but I think it just needs a slight bevel under the case or a touch more polishing. Now, I used to complain about this on nearly all San Martin watches, and now you do see a noticeable difference even on their newer models. Now moving on to the bracelet, this has also been refined and improved over the older one. Now even though I haven't seen the older one in hand, you can tell it does look quite high end. It's got very soft brushing matching the case across all the links, and it does feel great to touch. You have quite thick links and a very nice curve to those links, which looks great on wrist. And it's one of the things which tells you it's really a nice bracelet. You also get female end links which fit precisely into the lugs without any mismatched gaps. The quick release bars will make the strap changes very easy. And you also have screws for the links, which you need to be very careful with. There's quite a lot of Loctite applied to the threads, which are actually near the screw heads. So slow, torquey turns are required to minimize slipping and damage. You then get that trademark microglide on the fly adjustable clasp. And to be perfectly honest, while it does work and it is very handy, it's exactly the same as the ones you're seeing from brands like Seastern, but San Martin one is a lot better as it uses a push button to release the extension. Now the clasp is a folded shell design with large bells on either side, followed by twin pushers with smooth edges. Now, but again, on San Martin, we do see even beveled edges across those twin pushers. Now, there's also one complaint I do have on that bracelet, and it's the edges. It is far edgier than the case, and they are just too sharp. Now, taking the watch on and off does scrape the skin, and it is uncomfortable. Feel the edges on top of your hand, the knuckles, and even, San Martin now have refined the bracelet edges quite a lot more. If we look at Christopher Ward, there's not a single sharp edge in sight, and the bracelet is also very refined. They use a lot of bevel links, and at the £1,000 price mark, this is something you do really need to consider when making a bracelet, because there's plenty of margin to allow for these finishing touches. Now, once on the wrist, it is perfectly comfortable. The way the watch sits, you won't feel the bracelet edges, but only when you take the watch on and off. Personally, I regularly remove my watch throughout the day, so this is a problem for me. Now the watch does sit really well. The redefined lug to lug of 48mm is perfect for my 6.5 inch wrist, and will be for larger wrists as well. The 40mm diameter is a sweet spot for vintage divers, and it also has a 12mm thickness, which again is sweet for a diver. The curves on the case sit well on the wrist, and the watch is really well balanced, coming in at 160 grams without being sized, but around 150 grams for my wrist. And as I said earlier, that subtle curve on the links looks really nice on wrist, and it's one of the things which saves the bracelet and makes you forget how sharp the bracelet is. Overall, the watch has a wonderful understated appeal you want from a daily diver, with very classic looks, and depending on the colorway you go for, a very close alternative to the BB58, well, at least in appearance. So to summarize them, it's not as good as a Christopher Ward. They have way more original designs, better cases, and a lot more micro detailing and intricacies on their dials, hands, and the cases, and the bracelets are also a lot more refined. This Nomadic is really well made, but at £1,000 you need to scrutinize the build, and luckily for people like us, we see the other side of watches, the side which watch snobs don't look at. San Martin or Seastern are on par with this watch, and in some instances even better. So it then comes down to one thing which separates this, and it's the individual hand-built attention to detail, the individual testing, and the regulation of the movement. You also get a 2-year warranty, and Nomadic also offer a lifetime guarantee on manufacturing defects, not wear and tear. So this is something you will never get from the likes of San Martin, but at a third of the price of this, you really wouldn't expect it. So then the question is, how much money do you put on quality and peace of mind? With someone like San Martin who perform consistently with quality but are known to have the odd issue, or something like this with attention to detail and actual warranty to back your purchase. Also, I hope nobody thinks I'm here beasting on this watch or calling it rubbish. Like I said, it's understated, it has a really classic design, but at £1,050 I can't see anything which jumps out to justify that number. If this watch was around £650 tops, then I would say it's fairly priced, but it could also be this understated design that they went for, which has led me to my conclusions. So I'm looking forward to seeing the other models, right? You've got the Nomadic Touras, as that is something which looks completely different. So hopefully, if they decide to send that one for review, it may change my mind. So that's it from me today, guys. Please let me know your thoughts below, as I'm looking forward to hearing them, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.